Next part of our orientation is a New Testament church. And of course, our whole vision at Faith Ministries has to be based on faith, righteousness, and understanding God's goodness, love, and grace. And so we're going to go about helping people to get this established in their heart. So it's, even though we embrace, of course, the whole Bible and read the whole Bible and train and teach the Old Testament, we are a New Testament church. And so we're pioneering something that is found in very few places on earth today. We've chosen to depart from game playing and religious politics. That's why we don't use titles, and we have a job function. We know we're pastors, but we don't overemphasize the use of titles because every believer is a minister, and we really try to ingrain that in, integrate that in people so they understand everybody. We might have different functions in our job description, but we're all on the same boat. The way we're doing it today may change as we discover more effective methods, but the truth is we're sticking with the biblical pattern of cell groups and meeting, which is meeting from house to house according to the book of Acts, and meeting in a church setting where we meet together in a larger setting. So it's essential that you discover the underlying principles so you'll be flexible and adaptable when we do need to make changes. Because we really do desire to reach the lost, we must diligently disciple the new convert. Now, what does it take to disciple a new convert? 4 letters.
The word?
Time.
Time.
T-I-M-E. It takes time to invest in people, and that's prayer for them, personal ministry. That might be coffee a couple mornings. It might be however you need to connect. We've got to reach out, and that's the challenge for most people today. And the enemy's got us all so busy that we don't have time to build relationships. That's why home groups are so valuable, because they're smaller, more intimate, and there's a way to connect and build relationships. Okay, so that's the ultimate goal of all of our outreach, really, is discipling. So we all need to have a heart to invest in people one-on-one, and we should all be doing that at every stage of our life. There's never been a day when the need for discipleship was greater. Everything you do, even in our serving, we will have discipleship as the goal. The model for ministry has always been a combination of large and small groups. I said that earlier. In the Old Testament, the entire nation of Israel was broken down into groups of 10. Throughout the entire New Testament, they met publicly from house to house. So effective pastoral ministry and development of disciples can't happen any other way. This is not a trend, a convenient trend. This is God's plan. This is the plan God gave us when the church was founded. So this is the process through which we'll reach our every goal. We host home group meetings and celebration services weekly, and your part today in this training is to learn how to become a facilitator in our celebration services. Would you like to read, Dennis, working the plan, the first paragraph?
Sure. We are a family and a team. We have a plan that was born out of personal experience and prayer and a Bible conviction. It is essential that you live and breathe this plan. The principles of this plan have to be the core principle of your life. You will grow in knowledge and understanding of these principles and procedures that make up our plan. Through ongoing training process, you will be immersed in these principles. Through personal training, you will see them put into practice. Through repetition, they will become a part of your life. Through witnessing the results, they will become the joy of your life.
Through your training, You'll be given a blueprint for serving on this team. Nick's even going to share later on today out of a little handbook called Blueprint for Home Groups. Accepting this position is the acceptance of that plan. You'll be expected to follow the plan God's given us. And we understand circumstantial deviations from methods, but never deviate from the principles. And we hope your input will help us build on the principles to develop and refine the methods as we go. But you need to have in your heart up front a commitment to this plan in order to be effective and avoid chaos. And a failure to embrace and understand implementation of these principles result in conflict and low productivity. And we have done that before also. So we know what it's like when we're not working the plan. Groups that do not invite others, do not pray and invite and reach out to others, become navel-gazing groups, is what we call them, because you end up being closed off and you're not reaching other people. You end up too inward focused. You follow what I'm saying? And also, isn't it true that when groups that don't grow and it's just the same people, there are often breeds of familiarity and people get cranky with each other and all that, because it's God never intended us to be that way. He wants us to. And also, of course, stranger things happen when groups get isolated, don't they? Okay. So anyway, church partnership is a healthy orientation to understanding the philosophies of our ministry. Each person must continue in annual training, and of course, as a home group leader, we ask you if you're willing to meet one time a month when we have a leadership training time, and that's for leaders and workers. It's important that we have that connection and time to pray together, and it diminishes speculation about things we don't understand or know what's going on. So last but by no means least, it's essential to realize that working in ministry doesn't replace having a healthy relationship with God and the church family. No, we all have to. We're only going to have success to the degree that we have our own personal connection with the Lord, and that's the foundation of working the plan. So that's part of the orientation. I'm going to ask Dennis to share the next phase.
The ministry thrives on communication. You know, a lot of the times that we go through hard things is because lack of communication. People tend to assume things when they don't know. We can only work together to the degree that we have honest, accurate communication. Communication is the #1 tool of the professional. Miscommunication creates problems. Meaningful, accurate communication solves problems. Now, when I ask a direct question, and we all have different ways that we communicate, do not feel threatened. See, some people, we ask them a direct question and he's attacking me. No, it's just a question. Being questioned does not mean you are accused, attacked, or under suspicion. It means information is needed. Now, because we all in this group take the DISC, we need to find out what different people's behavioral styles are, and the D is pretty direct, dominant. And so you've got to learn that he's not attacking you, he just wants information, to where an I is going to take a while to talk to you about your family and those kind of things before they talk to you. But we're all different behavioral styles. If during communication you feel uncomfortable or threatened, simply tell the other person how you feel and allow them to modify their communication style. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I would appreciate if you asked me a little differently. I'm feeling kind of attacked here. There's nothing wrong with sharing your feelings about that. Never leave a meeting and express your discomfort or anger with another unless you are seeking help. Do not spread anger or discontent. Speaking strife is the #1 reason for dismissal. So we just can't have any strife communication going on, both personally or behind the scene. When passing information along, be sure you are not passing your evaluation. See, a lot of times people share their view of something instead of sharing that exact information. how you see it is not necessarily the way it is. It's just how you see it. Always clearly differentiate between your opinion, your evaluation, and the actual facts. Okay, I'm going to ask Nick, would you read the email paragraph there, that first one, much of communication?
Editing.
It's under email. You got it, Denise?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll start it. Much of our communication can be done by email. This is an essential tool when used effectively. How many here use email? Okay, I mean everybody alive should be in email communication. Over time, you will learn that you will learn what should be handled in email and what should be handled face to face. How many know there's times when there's certain communication that you can't just send somebody an email? You've got to look at them, you've got to talk to them, because more sensitive communications, or if you have to deal with somebody about a problem, can't always just go across email. Because email sometimes can be misinterpreted. There's voice inflections, there's certain facial expressions that people share when they see you face to face that you can't always communicate by email.
Or text.
Or text, right. And people a lot of times misinterpret that because they can't pick up those inflections. Do not give out email addresses without permission. Be sure to always put a concise message in the subject box so a person will be able to look at the email and remember what it is about. Okay, you want to read that next paragraph, Nick?
Don't just say it, write it. The most faded ink is more accurate than the clearest memory. If it is important, always send an email or put it in a report. Too often, with the overload of daily information, we forget very important details. After you have verbally communicated an important message, send an email or fill out the proper report. This is required.
Okay, does everybody get that about email? You know what happens, I know people get busy, but you send an email and it shouldn't take you a week to respond. You know, within the next day we have to have something. You can't just wait a week or not respond or I was thinking about it. You know, just say I'll get back with you later if you can't do anything else. Okay, professional communication, Denise?
Because our team is composed of friends and acquaintances, it would be very easy to allow our communication style to degenerate. Too much joking and sarcasm aren't acceptable in professional environments. Don't take things for granted. Treat others with respect. Communicate in a professional manner if you want a professional response.
Okay, now I had Denise read that because she is joking and uses a lot of sarcasm, and we want to make sure she understands this is not acceptable communication in this environment. Okay. Go ahead and read the next one too, Denise.
Too much joking around makes it difficult, Dennis, for the other person to know what you're really saying. Joking during professional communications usually portrays a hidden agenda, whether one exists or not. Therefore, reserve your joking for times when you're not conveying professional information.
Does everybody get that? And understand, joking a lot of times is some people's way to kind of communicate without saying direct. So there could be some things that they're getting across to you as they joke. So let's be careful with our communication and keep it professional. And as it says there, if you're going to joke, do it in a time when you're not having to communicate that. Lying is totally unacceptable. Does everybody get that?
Don't be lying.
Don't be doing it. People always lie because of fear of shame. It is the environment that, in this environment there is never any reason to lie. You know, you can always be truthful. You can always, because it usually comes out anyway. Just tell us what's up, how we can help you with this thing. See, our job is here to help leaders. If you're a home group leader and you're going through something or it didn't work out right, just tell us. We've all been there. We are very open in our communication. It is acceptable to say, I don't know, I'll let you know, I'm not comfortable with that question, I don't think this is any of your concern, I disagree with your point, but it's never acceptable to lie. Amen? Okay?
Amen.
Are you there, Frank?
Yeah.
Could you read that blame shifting part, please?
Okay, blame shifting, withholding information, slanting information is a form of lying. We desire truth. All problems can be solved in a way that stimulates personal growth and ministerial activity. We are never interested in punishing you for being wrong. We only want to find a way to do things effectively. We want everyone to win, including those who are wrong.
Come on. And we're never wrong, right? See, what we found is not about being right or wrong. We found out, does this person really want to work our system, work our plan? So it's really more about they either don't want to work this plan, which is fine, or there's a glitch in the process, a glitch in the program that we need to fix. But there's never a reason to have to lie to anybody. Positive professional attitudes. Complaining and negativity are totally unacceptable. When you have a problem, get with someone who can help you solve it and let that be the end of it. Most complaining has an unhealthy agenda. It tends to be an indirect way to say something that you're afraid to say openly. It takes a wise heart to know how to deal with negative issues without becoming negative. Everybody hear that? A wise heart knows how to deal with negative things. And in ministry, you're going to have to deal with negative things, people's problems all the time.
How come?
But you don't have to, just life as we know it. There's, situations come up. People have problems. People are going through family stuff at their job. But you don't have to be negative about a negative situation, right?
Right.
Negativity is like a disease that spreads throughout the entire team. Learn to deal with the negatives without being negatives. When I've got somebody being negative and being critical, they seem to affect that whole group.
Yes.
And next thing I know, these people are talking about, these people are talking about. Instead of focusing all the new people that are coming, they want to focus on all the people that have left. So we want to get that positive slant on a personal, professional attitude. Okay, Ed, would you read gossip and slander?
No.
Okay, I didn't ask you because I thought you were doing that because you don't have to.
Good.
Okay, Denise, go ahead.
Okay, gossip and slander are one of the worst forms of negativity. The Bible teaches that the gossip hates the person they slander. Gossip is unacceptable and will be considered as a serious moral problem. We're seeking to build people's lives, not destroy them.
Amen.
Okay, gossip is listed right up there among the real bad things. God hates these things. And what we want to do, because it destroys lives.
Right.
There was a story about a wise man that took a couple of boys, and they had been gossiping. And he told them to bring their pillows on the top of this hill, and they were feather pillows. And he said, now rip open your pillow and shake it. Of course, thousands and thousands of feathers just blew all over that town. He said, now go and pick up those feathers. And they said, we can't do that. He said, same as the way that gossip goes. Because you never know where it's going to go, how it's going to get spread, where it's going to end up. Come on, you with me? The first law of negotiation is to seek to understand before seeking to be understood. When there's a problem, do not pass judgment. You do not know why anyone does anything. Does everybody get that?
Yeah.
When you start moving into where you think you know why they're doing it, you've entered into the place of judgment and you're not God.
That's right.
This law of negotiation, why it's so important and why it's so good, until I seek to understand, that person is probably going to be shut down and not let you resolve the problem. Whether it's with another home group leader, if there's a conflict, you've got to seek first to understand their point of view if you ever want to move anywhere. If you're just going to come out and lay out your evaluation without understanding them, you're not going to get anywhere. Does everybody understand that?
Yep.
Explain how their actions affected you and ask them their intention. If it was not their intention to hurt you, forgive them. If it was, either work it out or bring that other person in for joint counseling. You need help in this area, books, tapes can be recommended. Now, if somebody did something that hurt you, is it wrong to share that it hurt you?
No.
No. And what you're going to find out most of the times is they never meant it to hurt you. They weren't even thinking that way. But because of your judgment, you thought they did this because of this. You're the one that ends up going on in pain for weeks and weeks, sometimes months and years. Confrontation. How many like confrontation? Anybody here? It's pretty exciting. Nick, you want to read that first paragraph, please?
Unfortunately, confrontation is sometimes essential. If you are confronted, I expect you to handle it as a mature, professional adult. You will never be attacked. Confrontation is never about who's wrong. It is about solving a problem. Likewise, when you confront, be sure to observe the rules of godly communication.
Okay, and I just want to say this. I used to look at confrontation as something, oh God, I'm going to hate to do this. But I found by putting it off, and that tends to be what we do, it only gets worse. It's like until you deal with it, it's not going to go away. Sometimes you can pray and God will deal with that person and things go on, but I found that you always have to deal with a situation that's more than just your average problem.
Confrontation just means having to face something.
Right.
That's not necessarily bad. You have to face it, you have to face it.
That's very good. And the thing is about it, your body language, how you approach them, the tone of your voice, all play into confrontation. You know, I remember Jim sharing this with somebody one time, and he had a good body language, he had a smile on, he said, you know, you're probably one of the most effective liars I've ever met. And because of the way he communicated it with the smile and everything, the person said, you know, you're probably right. So, your body language, actually what you say has less impact than how you say it. The tone, the body language, the facial expression. Isn't that good to know? So if you're smiling at somebody, you can probably and you have a relationship. That's a big thing in there. I don't know if we have time to explain the truck scenario, but people like to give information. You know, most people are like, I know something and I want to share it.
Yeah.
But if you have information to give to somebody, there's a couple things we have to take in mind. Let's say you've got a big truck over here, and this truck, you can load only so much information as the bridge they have to cross, and the bridge is called relationship. Right. So if I'm going to cross that bridge with a lot of stuff, I better have a strong relationship in place so I can get it to that person. If I don't have a very strong relationship, I can't carry much information in that truck. So keep that in mind in your confrontation.
Yes.
Receiving...
A question.
Go ahead.
And don't you think that when you do have to confront, that it should be done in love and kindness, really helping to solve the problem and helping the person to kind of, you know, get to the other side of it, rather than demeaning or, you know, saying, oh, you did all this stuff wrong?
Well, first of all, it's not about you anyway.
Right.
And because of the ministry philosophy we have restoration is what we're trying to do. Are we trying to restore that person, or is it about us being right?
Right.
So, very good point, Frank.
And I agree with Frank that what we've got to keep in mind is at all costs preserving a person's self-worth.
Yeah.
Very good points. All of your team and any of the people you minister to have the right and obligation to go over your head. Okay? So, keep that in mind. If there's somebody got a problem with you, they're willing to go over your head. And don't get all uptight if they do. That's okay, because if we're moving things the right direction, it shouldn't be a problem.
And since you bring that up about like the way the communication goes among the leaders and home group leaders, there really does need to be a lot of trust in place and loyalty, because a lot of people will have this, we call it the Absalom syndrome, would tend to, if they're disgruntled, go to a group leader and complain about the main pastor. And that's happened a lot. And as a matter of fact, our former pastor was so threatened by that happening, he was very reluctant to have home groups in his church, even though he knew and said God was leading him that way, because he was so afraid of a church split and a division because of home group leaders taking groups off like that. And so in our experience, we really have seen it's so important to have a good strong relationship in place with the home group leaders where there's trust and a commitment to communicate. So if someone is disgruntled, the home group leader would say, hey, if you're mad at him or you have a complaint against him,
Talk to him.
let's go talk to him. I'll even go with you, but not to keep it in a dysfunctional.
Okay, so if you're going to be a home group leader, almost guarantee somebody's going to come to you with a problem with the pastor or somebody else. And your job is not to join in with them against that person, which happens, but to say, you know what, I'm sorry you feel this way. I'll go with you if you like, and we can talk to them and share your concern. Okay, you with me? Because if not, you can get twosies, threesies, everybody can gang up on somebody.
And we've had that happen where groups have splintered off and had all the disgruntled people going to that group.
Yeah, if a group exists and they all have the same thing in mind that they left that church, that's probably not a good group to go to because they all are angry about that situation. If a person feels you've mistreated them in some way, you will be called in to discuss it. Very often it will be discussed in the presence of the offended party. This is not taking sides, this is accountability. In such confrontations, all parties will be treated fairly and given the benefit of the doubt, okay? Relations, you know, friendliness, helpfulness. You know, we want to be friendly to people. We want to do things in an etiquette, a manner of great etiquette. You know, we want to do things that people say, that is professional. We want to have a team that's coming from the leader down and communicating our desires to build self-worth in people. We want to overemphasize friendliness. We would rather be criticized to be being too friendly. I'd rather people say that we're too friendly than not have people being friendly. So let's keep that in mind when we're doing this. We do not want a person to acknowledge nobody talked to me. That's people there ignored me. We'd rather be over friendly than not friendly at all. Helpfulness. When people enter a new place, they generally have many questions. So are we there to let people know where the restrooms are, where they can get a bulletin? How can they get ministry? How do they find the nursery? We want to be overly helpful, especially to new people, in how they can find things. Be aggressive in follow-through. Probably one of the things that's lacked the most is trying to know how to follow up on somebody. We send them a letter, but a call is usually always in place, usually within a day after they come, especially to your group. People want to know you care. Okay? We don't want to overwhelm them, but we do want to make sure if there is a need that we can meet it. Now, the next part is to how to step down on good terms. There is never any reason to step down from being a hug leader on bad terms. If you are not enjoying your job, you should talk to the appropriate person to see how this could be done. But how many know it never has to be a bad situation? You can always say, you know, I need help, or I just can't do this, or this is not working. We can always communicate. You know, we're always there to help. We're always there to help you, but it should never be a negative situation. And, of course, we've had a few before. And the last one is commitment. It is a hard place and an exact time commitment on being a hug leader. You must realize that you could spend up to 6 months in training. See, usually we have hug group leaders training in another group so they can see how it's done. They're an assistant leader. But it's never good for a person to switch leaders often. So we want you to know that this is a commitment. We want you there for at least a year, because people want to know that you're going to be there for them. I'll just finish with this. We had a guy that's going to be probably starting a group here soon. He was in Hawaii, and the people of Hawaii, he asked why they don't seem to be very cordial and friendly to most people. And he says, you know, we actually are very friendly and very cordial, and we want to build relationships, but the problem with Hawaii is most people are transit. And it's so hard to build a relationship just to have them leave next week. So we want to know that you're going to be there, and we're more than willing to build relationships. So we need to know that you're going to be there like a year when you start a group. Of course, always willing to work with you and go through the problems. So that will finish our section of the orientation.